slack. Mopsy noosh.
Olde.
Hello everyone, welcome to another speed build today. We are renovating the Elixirs and Brews lot in Glimmerbrook to make it a more aesthetically pleasing wizard bar. And this is kind of fun because you sort of get to see most, if not all, of the creative process I went through in trying to make this lot. Because essentially I kind of found a floor layout somewhere where it was like a circular bar area, and then the rest of it was kind of just like me playing with different ideas, because it started out as like the bottom floor being, solely one level, but then eventually it ends up being open in the second half. But here we are kind of deciding how it's going to look on the outside a little bit. I knew I wanted to do the thing that you see a lot in sort of these like Tudor style buildings, where the second half, and by second half I mean the upper floor, is like supported by beams, and it like goes out over the first floor, because I guess back in the day you were charged taxes on your home based on how much like space it took up on the ground, so you could get more space if like the area above went out above the ground floor a little bit. Bearing in mind, maybe this is held up by magic, so I didn't need to do support beams, but I just like the way it looks. And then I knew I wanted to kind of have like an upper section where, maybe there's some rooms for rent, and also the home of whoever owns the bar. And this is what this outdoor staircase is for that. And it ends up being kind of like a thing where they have an outer entrance and an inner entrance. But anyway, here I am going in, building that center bar area that's rounded. And I want it to be like kind of like ethereal, so I end up using some of those blue hanging lights from Movie Hangout in there to sort of give it like a magical look. And I had a little bit of trouble here, you can see, getting the the platform, like not really a platform, but it's like a room within a room, to work. But I knew I wanted to use like this sort of Victorian looking spandrel around it to give it some detail. And here I'm deciding how the bar itself is going to work, if I'm going to have like two bars set on angles, or if I was going to like try to do counters. I end up using the Realm of Magic counters and then a bar like in the middle of it, and placing like some stuff inside the bar to make it look a little less like just pulled from the catalog. I also ended up using the Get Together fence, the like gothic one. I forget what it's called, but I ended up using that in the wizard apartment build too. It's just a nice, I don't know, I guess almost medieval, but like an older looking kind of like gothic style fence that I think works a lot for if you're going to build something that's for magic users. But I was feeling a little inspired by some other people here on YouTube who have made a couple of things like this. Devin Bumpkin, I believe, made like a medieval tavern moderately recently. And this is by no means an attempt to copy the stuff he has made, because, wow, the talent there is indescribable. But essentially, I just knew that I wanted to have like sort of like a bar, something wizardy, something magic, which is kind of what I think I'm almost not solely going to be doing, but I think I am going to be making more fantasy-centric things moving forward, just because I have more fun with them. It also means that the builds more than likely will be spaced out a little more. So I was trying to do weekly uploads for a little bit, and it worked a touch, but as some of you may know, I'm also an actor in Chicago, and I've had a couple of shows going up at the same time, and we just opened one. And so I've been busy, and also if I want to like have the level of detail in a build that I really enjoy putting in, then I have to take some extra time and not really set like a deadline. I just kind of like work on it in bits and pieces until I decide, hey, I'm going to take a break and then do a little more. So that's what I did. And here you can see I've kind of gotten like the main shape of the center bar put together. And then I was trying to decide how I wanted this set up. Like, did I want long tables with benches? I do kind of wish we had some like bench dining chairs in the game, which we might, but I think they might be in like the new romance expansion. What's it called? Love Struck, but I do not have that. But I did want to use like tables with bar stools, so I ended up like taking tables and sizing them down and putting them like inside of the tables. Here, I'm doing a thing that I've seen some people do where you take that like base game balcony object and then you use it to make a cage to put this little owl in, which is certainly not an original idea to me, but I've seen people do it and I was like, that is so smart. Thank God for the tool mod because it really helped me out with this instance. It did take a little bit of messing around with because I was like, how am I going to get this to work? And I finally did. I finally sort of understand how to move things with the tool mod in like one big chunk, which is what I did here. And then I realized that I did it wrong because the ends of the cage were in the middle. So I had to fix that, which is what I'm doing here. But here's this little owl guy. He's just vibing. Maybe he's like the pet of the bar owner, or it could be like one of those things. I've heard of bars in real life that have parrots that like talk to the patrons. Of course, in real life at bars, those parrots learn how to say some not very nice things, a little rude perhaps. This owl might say rude things, or maybe he is stuffed. I hope not. I like to think of him as alive, but if you download this lot and want to put it in your Glimmerbrook or wherever you want to put it, I just happen to build it in Glimmerbrook on the bar lot, then you can decide if Mr. Owl is alive or not, and if he knows how many licks it takes to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop. If you got that, congratulations, you are getting old like me. If not, oh well. I'm just doing a little bit of cluttering here now. I took one of the barrel objects from, I believe, Cats and Dogs, and then I ended up taking like the sparkly aura objects things from Realm of Magic and putting them up inside the lights. And then I used the same, well, I used from Realm of Magic that like planter object, and I put Spectre Sip inside, which is something I've been doing with cauldrons, from a tutorial that The Sims Scrolls here on YouTube has up. And I decided this could be like a little cauldron. Maybe it's like the brew of the day or something like that, that the landlord or landlady here might be hawking. But I did a lot of fun stuff with the tool mod here. I, took like the debug cauldron stirrers from Realm of Magic and put one in there, so it's almost like it's like stirring itself. And then I got some bubble emitters from the pool objects, put that in there, so it's like all bubbly. I put this little froggy guy on there. I think I took him down because I kind of wanted to have like a fountain flowing into it, but I couldn't find a way to make it make sense, or at least not a way to easily make it make sense. Here I am putting in the bar height tables so you can have the stools at like a normal table, which means that I did try to float them a little bit, so maybe it won't, but I think if you try to eat at these tables, the stuff might like float above it. And if that's the case, oopsie. Here I am switching out the adding picnic tables instead of the long tables, and then the picnic tables end up not staying because I eventually end up taking that front area and taking out a lot of tables so that it has like a little overhead area above the front door. But here we are decorating the bar to make it look more magical. We're hanging those like cottage living sconces that look like the little jars full of bugs. So I hung those. I used the werewolves rug because I love the werewolves rugs. I will use them probably in everything that I make, or at least everything I make that like is a fantasy build and is not carpeted, which is probably going to be all of them because I don't really associate carpeted rooms with fantasy. Maybe if I build like a vampire house and use like the vampires pack, but we'll see. And here we're putting in some candles and whatnot because I just like candles for a fantasy build. I don't really like stuff that actively looks like an electric light, if I can help it. I'm just kind of moving it around here. getting everything situated. I end up, I think, maybe not even using this candle that I'm playing with right now. I could be wrong, but I have a feeling I did not use it. And here we're cluttering up the bar a little more. I think I ended up using, I know I ended up using like the werewolf moon and sun, what is it? Moon and star lamp. I forget what it's called, where it spins around in live mode. And then I ended up taking like the spooky day pumpkins that have a little witch hat on it and tried to like hide the pumpkin inside the bar, so it just looks like there's like a witch or like a wizard hat sitting on the bar. And here I'm just testing angles, and now we're going in and we're adding a bathroom, because if you're at a bar, you're probably going to have to pee, friends, whether it's a magic bar or not. But we're using like that granny's house, I think that's what it's called, wallpaper, which is such a nice wallpaper, and I forget that we have, and it is base game. I think I wouldn't say discovered it, but when I made that Wicked Dorm build, I found it, and I was like, this is so nice. I should use this more often for like anything that's supposed to be older, anything Victorian, anything turn of the century. It's such a good pattern, and it like, doesn't look too modern, but I feel like also if you're trying to like have like your modern Sims save, it doesn't look too out of place. I could be wrong. Who knows? Because I think this is going to be the first in a set of sort of Glimmerbrook renovation things, not necessarily a limited pack build, mind you, where I go through Glimmerbrook and redo some lots. I started and did one for Willow Creek, which was that Barbie house, which turned out really well. It was fun. So I think I might do that with Glimmerbrook. But Glimmerbrook, as we know, was kind of like infamous for having not great builds, because there's that one house, I think it's for the Charms maybe, where it's got that whole back stairwell that just leads to nothing. Why? Who knows? There are no stairwells that lead to nothing here. I did try to put in a magic portal, and you'll see later that I take it out, but there is doors to things that are usable here. And here I'm going through adding some spandrels, adding some support beams, and then half of these support beams end up going away because I ended up putting a second level on the first bar floor. But, still a fun time. Did the thing that I usually do, where if I hung a ceiling light, I wanted to make sure it was hanging off a beam, because I think it's, quote-unquote more realistic. I know it does not matter, but my brain is like, the physics. Even though we have, lights in real life that are just hanging off of ceilings. But I'm like, if I'm going to have ceiling beams, I want the light hanging off of them. So that's what I did. Sorry, not sorry. And then here we are, using my favorite little hanging terrariums from the Blooming Room kit. Excuse me if I sound weird. I have a popsicle in my mouth. Essentially, I decided I could use the hanging terrarium in a different way, because it's not in front of a window. That's usually where I put them, but they do look nice in front of a window. And now we're cluttering up the walls a little bit, because I feel like a good bar just has lots of stuff on the wall. And now we're going and making what might be one of my favorite parts of this, where I decided there was going to be a big basement where like all the extra barrels of like ale and potions and stuff are kept. And it actually ended up being pretty cool, because I used the platform tool and made it like a dual level thing. And I also ended up putting like the bar like office down here too. But first we of course have to play with where the heck the stairs are going to go, and how the Sims are going to get to the stairs, because I did the thing where I used like the open windows to like show this little back area where the fireplace is, and then wanted to make sure you could actually get back there, so it's just kind of like arches sort of layered onto other arches, but I think it worked. Here's where I decided I was going to put that pumpkin and hide it in the bar, to where it's just a witch hat sitting on the bar. It took a lot, and I cut none of it out, but hopefully you can just watch and enjoy it. And if you don't want to listen to the voiceover, pull up your favorite spooky music on Spotify, put me on mute, and just come for the vibes. But we're putting in the witch hat here, And it took a lot of rotating and a lot of moving. And then you can see how I struggled with a capital S to decide how I was going to hide the bit of the pumpkin that was sticking out of the bar, and then I ended up just moving it back farther so I didn't have to hide it with anything. But there are some things that I tried that I think were kind of cool ideas. Like I used like the big drawing hand. I used that statue of that lady from Vampires. I used a couple different things. Then I found this log object and was like, oh, this must go outside. So I just went ahead and put it out there. Then I ended up using like debug posts and all kinds of things. And then ended up just like giving up and not hiding it with anything. I do end up hiding stuff inside the bar, but that comes a little later. I do kind of wish that maybe the idea I had with the china cabinet had worked, because I think it's cool and I think it's neat to have the china cabinet there, but I think in practice it wasn't all that great of an idea. Same with like the room dividers, and also this like restaurant booth divider. It was like cool in theory, but it didn't work in practice, which is fine. Here's where I like gave up and just decided I was going to move the hat back further so it wasn't sticking out. Then here we are putting up some pennants, I think from Get Together. Get Together actually has like quite a lot of pennants. The only problem is I think some of them look a little too modern for my tastes, and I don't have any CC in the game. Not build CC. I do have some Create a Sim stuff that I use for like my own personal saves, because I'm a big Wizard of Oz freak and I like having characters from the Wizard of Oz books that aren't necessarily from the movie from 1939, and I need CC to make them because they have like very specific accessories and whatnot. Or like, you know, one of them is like a rainbow lady who, you know, has like a big long like rainbow gradient dress, which we do kind of have now with all the Pride updates and the wedding dresses, but like the style is not quite right. And I don't even know if I've ever actually made a save with them. I know I have I have created them in Create a Sim, but then I haven't really played any plays-throughs with them, which I haven't done for a while. I kind of have a little more fun in the storytelling through building, you know, a building or a house than I do in playing the game, although I do have a legacy save that I may or may not have talked about in a past video, where it's a spellcaster family. Oh no, I definitely have talked about it, I can remember now. But it's the Blossoms, and they all have plant-based names. Here we are going upstairs and sort of building the, like the rooms to rent. There ends up in the end being only one room to rent, and then the other room is what I consider to be like the landlord or the landlady's home, or the they-thems home. I ended up making an old lady just for the cinematic stuff for this build, but that's not to say that you could just do whatever you want. I don't remember if you can actually own commercial lots in The Sims 4 yet. I know you could in The Sims 3, but I've never done that in a save of mine, so maybe it's not a thing. I know you can buy a vet clinic, which that could be kind of a fun thing to do if you'd like me to maybe like, I know there's one empty lot in Glimmerbrook. I could make like a magical vet clinic. That could be kind of fun because I could have all kinds of cages and things and use lots of little froggies and some fishes and whatnot. Because there are some froggies in this build. I just kind of hide them in a lot of my more fantasy stuff because I think it makes sense. And you also use frogs to brew potions. Although technically, I guess if you took them from this lot, since it's public, you would be stealing them. But I don't care if you steal this from here. Here's this long hallway that I ended up building, and then I end up not using it because the entire second half of this hallway ends up going away, because at the front of the bar I decided it was going to be dual level and you would have like an overlooking balcony on the inside. So this lasts for a little bit and then goes away pretty quickly, but you know, enjoy it while it's here. And then I put in a like a shared bathroom space essentially after I made this room for rent. I decided that this could be like a traveling like person who's maybe doing like some magical research on like bugs and fauna, plants. Maybe he's like trying to like brew some sort of cure for something. So like all of his stuff is kind of scattered about the room. I don't see this as a room where like the person who owns the place lives. Here's the communal bathroom I talked about, which ends up, this and the guest room end up kind of getting flipped to the other side of the bar, and then I end up putting the apartment area on this side, I believe, because I wanted it to line up with like the stairwell. At least I think that's what happened. We'll see shortly, because we've got about 10 minutes left in the speed build, and I know for a fact that I do move those rooms. Here we're putting in the coffee table object from Growing Together, which is so nice. It kind of looks like a card catalog or like apothecary drawers, something which I really wish that I had in real life, but they are expensive. So I have yet to actually get one day perhaps, but that day is not right now. But I've seen a lot of people in some like witchy wizard inspired builds use it as an object and sort of like hidden it inside of something else. A lot of people put it inside of desks. I decided to put it inside a bar, which is not to say I won't use it inside a desk eventually, because I did end up putting one in the office area downstairs, which you'll see in a little bit. But here we're going finally down into the basement, into the storage and the brew area. And I was trying to decide what kind of barrel to use, and I ended up using the same barrels that I used upstairs in the bar, which is from, it might be from the mixology career, I'm not sure, but I like lined the walls of the basement with it. And ended up, using the tool mod, flipping them, putting them on the other side. And here's where I decided that I wanted the brewing area to be on a lower platform in the basement, which ended up looking really cool, guys. So you can see me working on that here and kind of deciding like what it's going to look like. Am I going to have like a brick wall? Am I going to have a wood wall? I ended up using like the wooden cottage living fence, but I had to do it in a way where I had to draw the fence first and then move it, because it kept getting rid of the platform, because it thought I was trying to make, a single level room, which, if that's what I was trying to do, great. Thank you to the game for doing that for me, but it was not. And here we're putting in some shelves with some ingredients for your brewing needs. So we ended up doing, I think they're from Outdoor Retreat, which I'm still very shocked that there are so many things that work so well for occult style builds in Outdoor Retreat, because it's got like the more rustic looking furniture, it's got those little potion items, it's got the cute little books with the mushies on them, which I actually don't think I ended up using in this build. Not the mushy books anyway, but I did put the bottles and stuff in here. And here we're kind of adding a little detail. We're putting in some support beams, and I ended up using, I don't think I put spandrels across the top of this. I'm pretty sure I just ended up moving the fence and having the support beams. And then we're putting some crates and whatnot in here. We're cluttering up the shelves that are going to go above the cauldron area, and then I ended up taking some of those water wheel objects. You'll see it, I think, probably at the end, the water wheel objects from Cottage Living, because I've seen people do this, and it's so smart, where they like size them up and down so they look like spinning gears. So I kind of decided to like put some pipes and whatnot on the wall here to decide that it kind of looks like maybe this is like a whole brewing like setup where like the pipes pump whatever's coming from the cauldron upstairs, maybe into that little area with like the special like stone cauldron that's on the bar, which now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should have kept the water spout up there because it would have tied in, but like you guys get it. It's fine. I'm being too pressed about it. Here we're going in, we're adding some cracks and holes in the wall just to give this place a little more age, because I definitely don't see it as something that popped up overnight. I mean, maybe it did. It is magic, but it's definitely been like a stay in the town of Glimmerbrook for a while. So that's what I did. Here's where I'm deciding to flip around where the bathroom and the bedroom are. The spare guest room, that is, because I was like, it needs a second level. I need something overlooking the bar, because I feel like any kind of fantasy tavern you ever see in like any piece of media, it always has an upper level for, someone to like watch menacingly over the protagonist. In this case, it's actually a very cozy balcony area. I used a lot of candles and like warm colors up there, so it almost has like Gryffindor common room vibes, minus the transphobia. Always minus the transphobia. But here we are, we're putting in a little area underneath the stairs since I've added that balcony area. And then I was like, well, we have to have chess. So I put a chess table over here. So some wizards, your spellcasters, can play chess. And here we're adding some like cozy armchairs and some bookshelves. And I ended up putting like a couch and I think one more table up here that I imagine could be like a table for someone who maybe wants to come up and read by themselves. Or maybe it's like a more private table for if like you want to bring a little date here, a little magic date, a little whatever you see fit. This table up here is for that. I do kind of wish we had some armchairs that were more like big and overstuffed looking, kind of like in the same style as that couch that I put up here that's from Werewolves, but it still gets the vibe across, and I think it worked well. And I think that this place ends up pretty believably being like a place where you would be like, yeah, old wizards would come hang out here, maybe vampires, maybe some werewolves, just a place for your magic folk to hang out. And then we're adding more stuff on the wall because bars have to have lots of stuff on the wall, guys. I don't make the rules. Here we're adding in the pipes downstairs to pump your potions up there. And I kind of struggled because I wasn't sure if I wanted to use any of like the memorabilia objects from Get Famous. I might have ended up using one, but I don't use very many of them because they just look too modern. They look too movie star because there's like that one that I'm pretty sure is supposed to be like an Elvis sort of coat, and then I decided to not use it. And here I'm expanding the bathroom because I realized that there was no way for you to get up to that private apartment from the outside, which is what I wanted the whole time. And I ended up having to make the private apartment a little bigger, so it also does the thing towards the back eventually. You will see where I back it up and hang it out over the bottom footprint. Ended up giving it supports, and then I ended up using the same floral wallpaper from Cottage Living because it's so good, guys. If I could have that wallpaper in real life, I would do it in a heartbeat. And I'm sure there's stuff that's like it because I have a lot of peel and stick wallpaper in my apartment in real life. But until that time, I'm going to use it all the time in The Sims. Here we're decorating the cozy loft area, adding some candles. And then I was trying to decide how I wanted the chandelier above this area to look. And I ended up using this rounded one and did a thing that I saw someone do where they like took these planterns and flipped them upside down. And so it looks like it's like a planter chandelier, which I might make like a cozy sort of hobbity hole place at some point soon and do the same thing because I really love how it looks. And then I ended up layering another chandelier inside of it. So it's just lots of candles on candles. And we're doing a little bit of cluttering up here with the private apartment. We're adding the office downstairs that I had mentioned. And you get to see me struggle with deciding whether or not that magic portal is going to be down here or not. And I go so far as to put it in. I put in a doorway to where it's like kind of hidden. And it's like, ooh, this is a special magic doorway that is a portal but doesn't look like one. And I ended up doing away with it because the basement down here is short wall height. And all of the magic portal objects, I think, are at least medium, so it was poking up out of the floor, and I couldn't think of a way to hide it, and also it didn't feel like changing the wall height of this basement. Oh well, it is what it is. Now we're decorating some stuff here onto the fireplace that's in the back, and there ends up being another fireplace, upstairs, which I don't think I end up showing, but maybe I do, because I decided that the top area has like a tower where you can like fly in on your brooms. In my head canon, I don't know if you can actually do that because I was trying to test it with a sim that had a broom and it wasn't quite working. But you might get to see me adding the fireplace upstairs because I'm looking at the timestamps and I think I've got a good 4 minutes left, which was probably about 2 hours of build time. So we'll see. Here is the struggle with the portal after I put in, the china cabinet objects from Crystal Creations and then put more of the growing together card catalog tables on top so it kind of looks like a filing cabinet. I imagine this is like where they like keep the books, you know what I mean? Like the ledger, like how much beer do we have to order? How much money did we make today? Are people buying the love potion or not? All that jazz, all that fun stuff. And then I ended up putting some candles down here to give a little more depth and fun to the downstairs area. I ended up cluttering up the top of these like cabinets that I put in here because of course I used the card catalog again, because once I remembered they existed I was like, they have to be everywhere, absolutely everywhere, and they do because they're cool. Then we ended up just adding like a few more wall decorations, and I ended up putting some stuff in the apartment up here, like candles, little books, silhouette book from Paranormal that pretty much goes in everything I make now because it's good and I like it. I think everyone who builds, I've noticed, has like objects they go to, and I have mine. I go for them all the time, but I just like them. And if you don't like them, that's okay. I can be like that lady on Instagram, if you follow her, Grandma Droniak, where she's like, this is my outfit today. If you don't like it, you can leave. Because at the end of the day, I am trying to do a little channel engagement with you guys, but I kind of just end up building what I feel inspired to build. Not to say that couldn't change, because we are upping subscribership, and maybe I'll get some more stuff. But for the time being, this is what we got. So here we are putting a spandrel across the kitchen upstairs. I ended up doing another thing that I, again, borrowed from someone else, where there's like an open book here, and then I took the moon petal object from Werewolves to where it looks like, you know, maybe a spell summoned the plant out of this book. Like maybe it's a storybook, maybe it's a spell book. I don't know. Either way, it's super cool. And here is the broom landing platform where I put a little telescope. And it's funny because I ended up coming to be because I decided just like the plain rectangle shape of this was no fun and it needed to have more like fun elements to it. So we got a little upstairs section and a tower, because I love a tower. Now we're doing a little bit of landscaping. I ended up adding a back door and a little patio for people to sit at outside. And then I ended up having a lot of fun because I decided that there was going to be like clothesline out here and some chickens, because I feel like maybe this person, you know, serves breakfast. So they're like, oh, you know, here's a little omelet with the chickens from the farm. And then I did a little bit of landscaping here where I wrapped around some pebbly pathways, and I ended up using mushrooms from Realm of Magic and then base game hydrangeas, just because I think, probably because the base game hydrangeas are in like the actual Magic Realm area that came with Realm of Magic, and so are like the mushrooms. And then I think the flowers might be from Werewolves, but they could be from Get Together, and by Get Together I mean Growing Together. But we're just about done here, guys. We're moving into the last bits of the landscaping, and I'm hiding a couple of gnomes and adding, you know, some fun little touches and like signs and some pine trees. But we're just about done. You just kind of get to see me wrap up the landscaping, and there's of course a little bit more I ended up doing off camera, but this is about it, guys. I've got a few more finishing touches to add, and this will be up on the gallery soon under OzHistorian_1900. Thanks so much. I will catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Party. Isn't it?